a nice day. And today's inspiring quote is from Kalpana Chawla, the great lady. The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it. Okay, so first you have to identify, then you have to have the boldness, and then you have to put your effort. Perseverance is needed. Okay, today the birthday of another great player, Padma Bhushan Pujala Gopichand. I think there may not be anybody who doesn't know about him. He is famous not only by himself and also because of the people who are trained by him. Right? And so he has got Arjuna Award in 99, Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna, Padma Shri, Dronacharya Award, and Padma Bhushan in 2014. And he is the second Indian to win all Indian badminton, England badminton championships in 2001. And currently the chief national coach of the Indian badminton team. And he mortgaged his own house and he founded the Gopichand Badminton Academy. And so this Gopichand Badminton Academy, it produced so many players. You can see Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, Sai Pranit, Kashyap, Srikanth, Arundhati, Guru Sai Dutt, Arun Vishnu, the great players of the present day, right? All are produced by just this Gopichand Academy. So that is the great Gopichand. And there is another scientist named D'Alembert. I don't know whether you came across in fluid mechanics. There is one famous paradox called as D'Alembert's paradox. Have you heard about it? So when you study about ideal flows, so according to the ideal flows, if you keep a infinitely long cylinder in a uniform flow, it will not experience any force. Because if you see the ideal flow streamlines, it will be symmetric in both x-axis and y-axis directions. So because of the symmetry, there will not be either lift force or drag force onto that. So theoretically, it will not experience any force when it is kept in a uniform flow. But everybody knows that if there is a flow and if there is a body in it, there should be definitely force coming onto it. But the theory says it is not. So that's what's called as D'Alembert's paradox. And so it came because of ideal flows are considered to be inviscid flows, right? So viscosity brings the boundary layer onto the surface, and because of that, there will be symmetry lost and there will be drag force. Okay, that is the D'Alembert's paradox. And so we will have the lecture 36. And last class, we have done some problems, exergy of kinetic energy, exergy of heat transfer from a reservoir. So exergy of kinetic energy, the complete kinetic energy, the exergy are available energy. So when you have the heat transfer, so only part of it is available and the remaining is unavailable energy. So that is W reversible. If I have a reversible engine working between the reservoir and the sink, which is at the environment, so that work is called as the exergy. And so when it is varying temperature, I have to take the integral, right? And second law efficiency we have seen. So out of the reversible work, some work we are going to lose by irreversibilities, and because of which useful work is less than reversible work. And second law efficiency is the ratio of useful work by reversible work. And it's also a ratio of first law efficiency and Carnot efficiency. And the exergy of compressed air in tank. So if I have some highly compressed air in a particular tank, I can find out what is the exergy, because we know the exergy of a system when it is closed. And change of exergy during a compression process. So whenever a compression or expansion takes place, initially there will be some exergy, and after that I will have some other exergy. So the difference is the change of exergy, and we are going to lose some exergy because of the real process. And the exergy restriction for heat transfer in the wall and outside the wall due to heat transfer, this also we have done. So the wall inner and outer temperatures will be something, and the environment temperature and the room temperature may be different. And we can see the heat transfer and the heat exergy destruction because of the gradients of temperatures. And the exergy destruction during expansion of steam. So here also we have seen if you have inlet conditions and exit conditions, I can find out what is the exergy before expansion and after expansion. Okay, and we have done the problems. And if you just recollect, we'll revise all the equations just like that. So we have exergy of heat so is equal to 1 minus T naught by T into Q. Okay, so this is exergy of heat. This is also W reversible, also W max, or also available energy of the heat. And if I have work, exergy of work is equal to W minus T naught into V minus V naught. So this is the unavailable energy. So here also we will have an unavailable energy, which is T naught delta S. And X of P is equal to mgh, mgz, and X of Ke is equal to half mc square. And so if irreversibility is W reversible minus W useful, and second law efficiency is WU by W reversible, or if first law efficiency by Carnot efficiency, or 1 minus X destruction by inlet exergy. And if you see the exergy of closed system, that is phi, that is for closed system, so is equal to U1 minus or U minus U0, U minus U0 plus P naught into V minus V0 minus P naught into S minus S naught. If I have potential energy and kinetic energy, this is the exergy per unit mass, kilojoules per kg. And if it is a flow system, this is X closed. So X flow is equal to psi. This is given by H minus H0 minus T naught into S minus S naught plus C square by 2 GZ. So this is the exergy of a flow system. And if I have in general steady flow equations, so we will have mass balance that is equal to m dot 1 equal to m dot 2 is equal to m dot, and energy balance is right, q dot 1 q2 dot is equal to m dot into h2 minus h1 plus p2 square minus c1 square by 2 plus g into z2 minus z1 plus w dot 1 2. And if I take entropy balance, so we can write S dot gen is equal to m dot into S2 minus S1 plus sigma Q dot k by tk. And if I have take exergy balance, that is for a steady system, I am taking dSCV by dt0, dxCV by dt0 like that. So X destruction is equal to m dot into psi1 minus psi2 plus sigma 1 minus Q naught by tk Q dot k minus W dot. And this is also equal to T naught S dot gen. So you can calculate X destruction either from this formula, or you can find out S gen from this formula, and T naught into S gen also gives the exergy destruction. And if I want to calculate S gen, I have to calculate the change in entropy and all. And change in entropy also we have the three formulae from TDS relations. We got Cp log T2 by T1 minus R log T2 by T1. If it is a constant volume process or something like that, we can use Cv log T2 by T1 plus R log T2 by T1, or the other formula Cv log T2 by T1 plus for Cp log T2. So like that, we have three different formulae, and using finding out the, because change in entropy is needed uh, when I want to find out the change in exergy. Right? Suppose if I want phi2 minus phi1, so that will be u2 minus u1 plus t naught into v2 minus v1 minus t naught into s2 minus s1 plus c square, c2 square minus c1 square by 2 plus g into z2 minus z1. And if I have closed system, the change in exergy is psi2 minus psi1 is h2 minus h1 minus t naught into s2 minus s1 plus c2 square minus c1 square by 2 plus g into z2 minus z1. So like these are the different formulae that we come across in the availability chapter or exergy chapter. Okay, any of Raymond is asking for the solutions of -7. Do you want that or exergy problems? Which way you would like to? I think we can actually, I have made this -7% in answers. I think we can go through this. A heat engine works between 300 Kelvin and 1200 Kelvin, taking heat at a rate of 500. Maybe, I don't know, the order may be different. So you can just, these are all the problems. Okay. A heat engine works between 300 Kelvin and 1200 Kelvin, taking heat at a rate of 500 kilowatts and giving an output of 180 kilowatts. The irreversibility. The irreversibility, I want W reversible by minus W useful. W useful is given to be 180 kilowatts. W reversible, because I know TH and TL, I can find out efficiency, and into heat is the W reversible. Okay. So I can, okay, I don't know. This is only questions. Yeah, just 3-4 minutes. I will. It is in another computer. I will just send by mail.
Sir, otherwise we can discuss XRG problems now, sir. Like, you can
Okay,
share those
two
solutions.
minutes. 2 minutes.
Means not everyone has all doubts, no, sir. Like only few selected problems will be
Okay,
there.
can you quickly cover it? Or?
Fine, sir.
Okay, this is one. We will quickly go through. So W reversible minus W useful is the irreversibility. So this is 1 minus TL by TH into Q, 1 minus 300 by 500 into 500. So this is 195 kilowatts, 375 minus 180. And a heat engine works between 300 and 1200 Kelvin, taking a heat at a rate of 500 kilowatts and giving an output of 180 kilowatts. Similar thing, only thing is it's asked to find out unavailable energy. So because we have seen W reversible as 375, so 500 minus 375, that is 500 minus 375, 125 kilowatts is the answer. And air at 1 bar and 27 degrees centigrade is heated at a constant pressure to 177 using a source of 577. If the ambient temperature is 20 C, the percentage of heat added as available energy. Actually, the percentage of heat added as available energy, this all data is not necessary. If you have these two temperatures, I can find out what is the this availability 1 minus TL by TH into QH, and that is just efficiency is enough, right? Efficiency of the heat engine, that is which is W by Q. So percentage double 65.53% of the heat is available energy. Okay, so that extra data is not needed. And exhaust gases leave an IC engine at 1 atmosphere and 800 degrees centigrade after doing 1050 kilojoules per kg of work. If ambient temperature is 30 degrees centigrade and the specific heat is 1.1, the XSG destruction is. So here, because XSG destruction is T naught into Sgen, and Sgen is delta S. Delta S is Cp log T by T naught. So Cp is given and log T by T naught. I can find out what is the XSG destruction. And the steady state heat loss through a wall is 1 kilowatt, whose wall temperature is 30 degrees centigrade and 5 degrees centigrade on either side. So if the ambient temperature is 0, again the XSG destruction. So we have done this in the class when I have wall temperatures 30 degrees and 5 degrees. This is Q by T naught Sgen. So Sgen is Q by T2 minus Q by T1. So I can find out the Sgen, and then T naught into Sgen is the XSG destruction. And water of 5 kg per second enters a pipe at 20 degrees centigrade and exits with a rise of temperature 1 degree centigrade due to friction. So, and if the ambient temperature is 15, the XSG destruction again is equal to Sgen is change in entropy, MCP log T2 by T1. There is 1 degree temperature rise, so 294 by 293, and 5 is the mass. So this gives the XSG destruction. And 150 tons of water is stored at a height of 100 meters. It's available energy. It is just mgh. Mg is m is 150,000 and g is 9.81 and height is 100. So because potential energy is completely available. So 150,000 9.81 into 100 meters. So I will get so kilowatt hours it is asked. So I have to divide by 3600. And a house is to be maintained at 20 degrees centigrade in an environment of 0 degrees centigrade by electric heaters. The second law efficiency is. So this also we have done in the class. When I have electric heaters, the first law efficiency will be 1 or COP. So COP according to the first law is 1 because heat is electric power that is given is equal to heat that is developed. So COP is 1, and COP reversible I can find out from the two temperatures, and COP by COP reversible gives the second law efficiency. Okay, COP of the electric heaters is 1, and COP of reversible TH by TH minus TL 14.65, and second law efficiency is COP by COP reversible. So we have a furnace at 1500 Kelvin supplies a heat rate of 800 kilowatts. If ambient temperature is 27, the maximum energy that can be produced. Again, I have two temperatures given and heat is given. I have to find out what is exergy of the heat. So 1 minus T naught by T into Q. It is just straightforward. A reservoir at 1200 Kelvin supplies heat at a rate of 1000 kilowatts to a heat engine that rejects heat to a sink at 27 degrees centigrade. If the output is 600 kilowatts, the second law efficiency. Again, find out W reversible. W useful is given as 600. I can find out second law efficiency. So with 100 and 1000, this is first law efficiency, and the reversible, this one 0.75, and the second law efficiency is 80%. In an environment of 25 degrees centigrade, air is throttled from 150 C to 800 kilopascals, and to a pressure of 200 kilopascals at a mass flow rate of 0.8 kg per second. The power wasted during this process is, so it is throttling process is happening. So we are given T1 and T1, and throttling means actually T2 is not given because it is throttling, its temperature is same. So T2 is 150 degrees centigrade. So last power is irreversibility or exergy destruction. It's T naught S gen. Again, S gen is delta S. Delta S is Cp log T2 by T1 minus R log T2 by T1. Because temperature is constant, this goes off. So minus R log T2 by T1. It gives the change in entropy or S gen. And so S gen, here mass flow is given, so I have to multiply by that so that I get it in kilowatts. So destruction is T naught S gen. So in an environment of 25 centigrade, steam enters a turbine at 4 megapascal and 600 degrees centigrade and exits at 0.2 megapascal and 150 degrees centigrade. The change of exergy of steam in the process. So in the inlet conditions are given, exit conditions are given. I can find out H1, H2, S1 and S2. And the change of exergy, Psi2 minus Psi1 is H2 minus H1 minus T naught into S2 minus S1. So like this I can find out. And dx is decrease in exergy actually. So I put x1 minus x2 minus T naught into S1 minus S2. So from the steam tables, superheated tables, at the inlet conditions I can find out H1 and S1. At the exit conditions I can find out H2 and S2. Just substitute in the exergy. So this is nothing but Psi1 minus Psi2. Again, in an environment of 20 centigrade, a 15 kg solid whose Cp is this is at minus 10 degrees centigrade. The exergy content of this solid. Exergy content is asked, so it will be U minus U naught into T naught into S1 minus S naught. So this is the exergy. So I know I have its temperature and ambient conditions also are given. So C into T minus T naught C log T by T naught. So in this way I can find out the exergy of the block. So a windmill rotor of 12 meters diameter is in wind velocity of 6 to 20 meters per second. If air density is this, the maximum power that can be generated by the windmill is. Again, this is kinetic energy, and the exergy of the kinetic energy is equal to half mc square. And the mass is given by, because density is given, the area is given. So rho AC gives the mass flow m dot, and into c square by 2. So half rho a c cube it will be. So x is equal to half mc square, m dot is equal to rho ac, and substituting there half rho ac cube I will get. A is pi d square by 4. Substitute here, and because density is known, diameter is known, velocity is known, I can find out what is the exergy. Again, in an environment of 25 centigrade, a furnace of 1100 Kelvin supplies heat at a rate of 5 megawatts. The exergy of this energy is, and again exergy of heat only. So I can just, because T and T naught are given, this is given. Again, it is a simple exergy of heat. And 1 kg of gas uh, enters a gas turbine at the conditions, inlet conditions are given. If the ambient conditions are this, the availability of the gas. Okay. So again, the availability is H minus H naught into, so I know the conditions at the entry and at the environment also. So I can find out H minus H naught into T naught into S minus S naught. And because temperatures are known, S minus S naught is Cp log T by T naught minus R log T by T naught. Okay. So I know all the values P1, T1, P naught, T naught. I can find out what is psi. And because mass flow is given, we should not forget. So if you do just psi, it only gives per unit mass. And whenever mass flow is given, I have to multiply that to get the total exergy. Any doubts in between, you can ask me, right? I can take a pause. Okay, here steam enters a turbine. It is steam turbine problem. Again, 3 megapascal and 450 degrees centigrade, and leaves as saturated steam at 0.1 megapascal. So inlet conditions are given 3 megapascal and 450 degrees centigrade, at which I can use these superheated tables, get H1 and S1, and leaves as saturated steam. So 0.1 megapascal from the saturated tables. So you can take Hg and Sg. Okay, so they are H2 and S2. If the ambient temperature is 25 centigrade, the maximum that can be produced is, so I can find out psi1 and psi2. So psi2 minus psi1, this is not psi, it is psi2, psi1 minus psi2. Psi1 minus psi2 is H1 minus H2 minus T naught into S1 minus S2. So at the inlet conditions, I can find out from superheated tables H1 and S1. And at the exit conditions, as I told, from the saturated tables at Hg and Sg, because X2 is 1. So H3 and S2 I can find out. Just substitute, I will get change in exergy, which is the maximum work that can be produced. Okay, and coming to the cycles, I think now, in an 8 standard Otto cycle, the temperatures at the beginning and at the end of the compression are 27 centigrade and 327 degrees centigrade. And its efficiency is. So here T1 and T2 are given. So from which I can get V1 by V2, because 1 to 2 is isentropic compression. So I can find out the compression ratio. Once I get compression ratio, 1 minus 1 by R to the power of gamma minus 1 gives the Otto cycle efficiency. So like this, T1 is 300, T2 is 600. So V1 by V2 is T2 by T1 to the power of 1 by gamma minus 1. So 1 by gamma minus 1 is 2.5. And so this gives the compression ratio R. And the efficiency is 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1. And R you can substitute here, and I can find the efficiency as 50%. And the cylinder bore and stroke of a petrol engine are 50 mm and 75 mm. So this gives actually the stroke volume, pi d square by 4 into L. Okay, that gives the stroke volume, and clearance volume is given. So I can find out V1, which is the sum of Vs and Vc, and Vc, the clearance volume itself is V2. So V1 by V2 gives the compression ratio, and I can find out what is the Otto cycle efficiency. Like this, V and L are given, and clearance volume is given, which is V2. So this is clearance volume V2, and the stroke volume pi by 4 d square L. So I can find out, and so this is V1. So Vs is V1, and sorry, Vs is only this much. V1 is the total Vs plus Vc, so that gives 168.56, and R is compression ratio V1 by V2, that gives 7.913, and again the formula 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1. Okay, actually Ravant, have I covered your doubt? Okay. Then coming to Carnot cycle, that works between 27 and 1527, produces 1.2 megawatts. The rate of entropy change during heat addition. Okay, during heat addition means the TH line area below that. So TH into delta S I want, and okay. So this is TL is this much TH, and W, the work, is equal to TH minus TL into DS. So W is delta S. TH is given, TL is given, and WN is given. So delta S is WN by TH minus TL. Because the work is nothing but the area inside this, and TH is known, TL is known, and the area is WN, that is given to be 1.2 megawatts, and I can find out what is delta S. And again in Otto cycle, the pressure ratio during the compression is 15, the thermal efficiency. Again, one problem I have given, knowing the temperature ratio. And directly volume ratio, you can find out the compression ratio. And pressure ratio, if it is given, again V1 by V2 is V2 by P1 to the power of 1 by N. I can find out what is V1 by V2 or R, and then I can find out what is the efficiency. So V1 by V2 is P1 by P2 to the power of 1 by gamma, and which is 6.92. And once R is obtained, again you can use the Otto cycle efficiency formula. And coming to diesel engine has a compression ratio of 18, and the cutoff takes place at 5% of the stroke. So the thermal efficiency. Again, we know that diesel cycle efficiency is a function of cutoff ratio and compression ratio. Compression ratio is given, cutoff ratio I have to find out based on this data. Cutoff takes place at 5% of the stroke. So if I draw the graph, so this is the whole stroke, and this is 5% of the whole stroke. So V3, here V3 is equal to Vs, sorry, it is not Vs, Vc. Vc plus 0.05 Vs. Okay, Vc here, this, and this is 5% of the Vs. So, and V1 by V2 is 18, so V1 is 18 V2. So here, yeah, Vs is V1 minus V2, that is this one, that is 17 V2. And so here, this is 1.85. So in this way, I can find out what is cutoff ratio. So this is the formula we have in terms of R and RC. So RC is obtained here. I can find out the efficiency. Again, diesel cycle, air enters at 1 bar 300 Kelvin. If the compression ratio, again, compression ratio is given, and the maximum temperature is 2500 Kelvin. So when the maximum temperature, the T3 is given. So you will be knowing T2 and T3, and based on that, T3 by T2, V3 by V2, I have to find out. Okay, like this. So R is 14 given, and T3 is 2500 Kelvin, and T2 from the compression ratio, I can find out this. So T3 by T2 gives me V3 by V2, which is cutoff ratio, and that I have to use here in the formula, and I can find out what is the efficiency of the diesel engine. And coming to the Brayton cycle, these Brayton cycle problems must be easier for you because they are in turbo machines also. So the inlet conditions of an ideal Brayton cycle are 1 bar and 298 Kelvin. If the pressure ratio is 5, the maximum temperature is 923, the efficiency is, actually efficiency is 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1 by gamma, or 1 minus 1 by C. C is R power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So if you find out 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1 by gamma, you can find out. It is just straightforward. I need not know actually T3 and T1. And here it is asked to find out the network. Here I need those things. The inlet conditions, again 1 bar 298 Kelvin, pressure ratio is 5, and maximum temperature is 923, and its network. If you remember in terms of non-dimensional things, W by CPT1 is equal to T into 1 minus 1 by C into minus C minus 1. So if you divide actually this by CPT1, you will get small t into 1 minus 1 by C minus C minus 1. So that way also you can find out, or you can just write away T2 by T1 is compression with the pressure ratio to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I will get T2, and T3 is given. Again, T3 by T4 is R power gamma minus 1 by gamma. I can find out T4, and turbine work is Cp into T3 minus T4. Compressor work is Cp into T2 minus T1, and turbine work minus compressor work gives me the net work. And if you are asked to find out the efficiency also, input is T3 minus Cp into T3 minus T2. So Wn by Q, you can get the efficiency. I think it is like that only. The inlet conditions of ideal Brayton cycle with heat exchanger. It is with heat exchange are 1 bar and 298 Kelvin. If the pressure ratio is 5 and maximum temperature is 923 Kelvin, its efficiency is. Actually, the formula is 1 minus C by T, where C is R power gamma minus 1 by gamma, and small t is T3 by T1. Right? So if you see the Ganeshan book, you can see this formula. And so C is the C and T are known, so 1 minus C by T, that is the first. And if an ideal Brayton cycle works between 300 Kelvin and 1073 Kelvin, the maximum work done in kilojoule per kg. So this is T1 and this is T3. Actually, there is a small formula, root of T3 minus root T1 whole square gives me W max, Cp into root T3 minus root T1 whole square. So you can find out like this. W is T into 1 minus 1 by C minus C minus 1. And if you differentiate this, you can find out what is the optimum C. Optimum C is root T. And if I substitute root T here, T minus 1 by root T minus root T minus 1. And take LCM root T minus 1 by root T. So common root T minus 1 into root T minus 1. So root T minus 1 whole square. And small t is T3 by T1. So if you simplify, root T3 minus root T1 by root T1 square. So this T1 and this T1 goes off. So W max is Cp into root T3 minus root T1 whole square. You can just get this. And if an ideal Brayton cycle works between 300 and 1073 Kelvin, the cycle efficiency when it is producing maximum work. So that's what we have seen. Maximum work we will get when C is equal to root T. So C optimum is root T, and root T is root 1073 by 300, so 1.89. This is the optimum pressure ratio. Once I know the pressure ratio, again eta equal to 1 minus 1 by C. So 1 by C is nothing but R power 1 minus 1 by 1. Okay, so this is the efficiency. And the pressure ratio of an ideal Brayton cycle is 40% efficiency. Of 40% efficiency is given as. The efficiency is given, I have to find out the pressure ratio. It is just reverse. So 1 minus 1 by R power gamma minus 1 by gamma is given to be 0.4. So I can take 0.4 this side and this side, so 0.6, and 0.2857 if you take the power of this, and this becomes 6. So if cutoff takes place at 6% of the stroke for a diesel engine with a compression ratio of 14, its thermal efficiency is. So again, cutoff is given and compression ratio is given. So here the V3 minus V2, that is this, by V3, that is the percentage of the stroke. So because this is Vs and Vs is V1 minus V2, this is given as 0.05, 5%. So you can get from this what is cutoff ratio. Cutoff ratio you will get as 0.65. And if I substitute cutoff ratio and compression ratio, I can get the efficiency of the diesel engine. So only thing here, the 5% of the stroke it is given. So because cutoff takes place after this length, V3 minus V2 by Vs. Vs is nothing but V1 minus V2. So that is the way we have to find out the cutoff ratio. And for a diesel cycle has efficiency equal to 0.631, if the cutoff ratio is 2, its compression ratio is given by. Again, you have to write the formula, diesel cycle efficiency formula, where R and RC are the variables, and R is given, RC is given, you have to find out R. So this is the formula, and only R is the unknown here. Substitute all the remaining things, I can get the compression ratio. So the efficiency of an ideal Brayton cycle with heat exchanger with a pressure ratio of 1.3, maximum and minimum temperatures of 1700 and 1300 is given there. So again, as I told, the efficiency of an ideal Brayton cycle with heat exchanger is 1 minus C by T. And pressure ratio gives me C, and T3 by T1 gives me T. And I can find out 1 minus C by T. C I can find out, and small t is 1700 by 300, and I can find out the efficiency. So this is the way I can get. And the last problem, if the compressor of a gas turbine cycle has inlet and exit temperatures of 290 Kelvin and 460 Kelvin, its pressure ratio is. It's just temperature ratio is equal to pressure ratio to the power of gamma minus 1 by gamma. So I can find out what is the pressure ratio. Pressure ratio is temperature ratio to the power of gamma by gamma minus 1. So I can get this. Okay, this is the way I can the solutions are given here. I can send it to your mail. Anything you wanted to ask? Any questions on the problems that we have discussed? No. In gas turbines, whatever efficiency we talk is first law efficiency only. In turbo machines, when you talk about gas turbines, are all the efficiencies that I have talked, Otto cycle, diesel cycle, Brayton cycle, all are first law efficiencies only. Okay. Yeah. So these are the problems we have discussed in the last class. And just quickly again, I go through them because they are the main problems which cover most of the things. And so exergy of kinetic energy, this is given in your quiz also, the minor also. That is half rho SEQ. And exergy of heat, these types of problems also I have given already. Some 3 to 4 problems are given on this. And the irreversibility, this also is given. So the same problem I think we have in the minor. So irreversibility is W irreversible minus W useful. And the exergy of variable heat source. So whenever the temperature is changing 200 degrees centigrade to 27 degrees centigrade like that. So I have to use 1 minus delta W only I can get. Delta W is 1 minus T naught by T, delta Q I have to write. And so this variation of temperature, I have to take the integration. And delta Q is mCp dt. And I have to substitute and take the integration. So that is the way we have done. And second law efficiency for heat engine and also refrigerator and heat pump also. You can see. These are the examples. And the exergy of heat from a source of same thing, source of varying temperature. And integrating it 1 minus T naught by T mc dt, I get that. And actually it is from here, W reversible work is 8191. Actually the amount of heat supplied is the 38,925 mcdt, out of which we got only reversible work as 8191, and irreversibility is W reversible minus W useful, because it is not used at all. The complete one is wasted. But if this work is used to run a heat pump, okay? So here the whatever remained out of this reversible work, this is used to heat the house, and this 8191 I can use to run the heat pump. Okay, so if I run a heat pump like this, and between the house temperature and the environment temperature, right, I can find out what is the COP of this. So 300 by 22. So this is 13.6. So I have COP of 13.6. So 13.6 times the work 8191, I can get this much of heat I can get from this. Okay. So already I have got 30,734 kilojoules, and here I am getting 111,398 kilojoules. So total I will get 142,132 kilojoules. If I can use, instead of wasting that heat, if I can develop this. So secondly, efficiency of fabricators. This is also given in the minor test. And exergy of compressed air. And so here, this also we have discussed in the last class. So compressed air, I have the conditions at a present state in the compressed condition, and I have the environmental condition. So exergy is nothing but P0 into V1 minus V0 minus T0 into S1 minus S0. Actually, U1 minus U0 also should be there, but the temperature inside and outside are same. So that's why it becomes 0. And S1 minus S0, it is Tp log T1 by T0 minus R log T1 by T0. And again, because temperatures are same, this will not be there. And if you can write everything in terms of pressures, because I know the pressure inside and outside, I can find out the exergy. Okay, this is the way I can do it. And exergy of change in compression. So if I have a refrigerant which is compressed, and the inlet conditions are given where I can get the properties, and exit conditions also are given, I can get the properties from the R134A tables. And taking the environment conditions to be like this, and I can find out what is the exergy change. Exergy change is nothing but Psi1 minus Psi2, or Psi2 minus Psi1, because it is compression, Psi2 will be more. Okay, Psi2 minus Psi1 is H2 minus H1 minus T0 into S2 minus S1. Because H1 S1, H2 S2, I can find out at these inlet conditions and the exit conditions. And the ambient conditions are needed for this T0 to calculate here, substitute here. So just substituting the values T1, T1, H1, S1, H2, S2, and I can get the change in exergy, or the minimum work that is to be supplied. And this also we have discussed. If I have a wall and if I have a heat transfer like this, there is entropy generated and exergy destroyed, because exergy at the inlet is 1 minus T0 by T1 into Q. At the exit, 1 minus T0 by T2 into Q, and T1 is greater than T2. That's why I will have inlet exergy more and exit exergy less. So I'm going to lose exergy or available. And also we have discussed that exergy destruction is always positive, but change in exergy can be positive or negative, just like entropy. And exergy destruction in conduction through the wall, like previous figure, if I have like this, and the inner and outer temperatures are 20 and 5, and then I can find out Q into 1 minus T0 in, Q into 1 minus T0 by T out. I can find out what is the exergy destroyed. And so in the outside also, because 27 to 25 it is reduced, and here 5 to 0, and that external exergy destruction also I can find out from here, 93.2. And exergy destruction in expansion. The piston cylinder device, and which has 0.05 kg of steam at 1 megapascal and 300 degrees centigrade. And because it is steam, I can find out what are the conditions at the initial conditions. And now steam is expanded to a final state of 200 kilopascals. It is a piston cylinder device, so it is a closed system. And it is doing work. And heat losses from the system to the surroundings are estimated to be 2 kilojoules. Here heat loss also is given. So this also is to be considered, only not change in exergy. When you find out the exergy destruction, if you remember, we have written in the exergy destruction, I have this not only the change in exergy, but also because if there is a heat transfer, this also will be lost. Okay. Okay, now again, steam inlet conditions from the superheated tables, exit conditions from the superheated tables. I have U1, V1, S1, U2, V2, S2. I am taking U1, not H1, because it is a closed system. So X1 is M into U1 minus U2 minus T naught into S1 minus S naught plus P naught into V1 minus V naught. So I have this ambient conditions. So here T naught and P naught are given. The steam conditions at T naught and P naught, because whenever it is in the liquid state, I have to find out UF, VF, and SF at 25 degrees centigrade. The saturation temperature I have to take. So I have to consider these and get the exergy at the inlet or the initial conditions and get the exergy at the final condition. I can find out what is the change in exergy. And not only that, so because this is a closed system, this P naught into V2 minus V1, this is what is the unavailable energy. So that unavailable energy is 5.3. That also I have to find out. So 9.6 and this 5.3 I have to remove. So 4.3 kilojoules. So this is the exergy destruction. Yes. And the exergy destroyed during stirring of a gas. An insulated rigid tank contains 0.9 kg of air at 138 kilopascals and 21 degrees centigrade. Initial conditions are given. And now a paddle wheel inside the tank is now rotated by an external power source until the temperature in the tank rises to 55 degrees centigrade. This is the final condition, and work is given and surrounding temperature is given. And so X destroyed destruction is T naught Sgen, T naught into delta S of the system. And this is delta S. And I am given, because this is a closed one again, V2 by V1 will be log V2 by V1 is 0. So I use CV log T2 by T1. I will not use CP here. So this gives T naught Sgen, and W reversible. That is change in exergy, that is U2 minus U1 minus T naught into S2 minus S1. And so I will get MCV into T2 minus T1, and T naught into S2 minus S1 is already calculated. So this is the reversible work. And in this way also we can do here, because the temperature is changing. I can take the integration 1 to 2, 1 minus T naught by T MCV dt. So this is the way we have done previous problem. So in this way also I can do. If I do it, I will get MCV into T2 minus T1 minus T naught log T2 by T1. This is actually these two expressions. This is one expression. This is one expression. So this you will get the same things here. And exergy of heat transfer between tanks. So two constant volume tanks, each filled with 30 kg of air, have temperatures 900 Kelvin and 300 Kelvin. A heat engine placed between the two tanks extracts heat from the high temperature tank, produces work, and rejects heat to the low temperature tank. Determine the maximum work that can be produced by the heat engine and the final temperatures of the tanks. So if I have two reservoirs, and if I want maximum work, so Sgen W reversible I want. So Sgen will be equal to 0. If Sgen equal to 0, delta S of source will be plus delta S of sink. The total change in entropy will be 0. So here MCV T2 by T1 of the source and MCV T2 by T1 of the sink is equal to 0 actually. So here, because constant volume both are, this is 0. And if I add these two, I will get log T2 square by T1A, T1B. So T2 square is root of T1A, and these are initial temperatures of both source and the sink. And if I want to find out the heat transfer, because I can find out what is the final temperature. Once I know the final temperature, MCDT of this gives me the heat that is taken from here, and MCDT of this gives you the heat gained by the sink. Okay, so that is the way we do here. T2 is equal to root of 900 and 300. That gives the final temperature. Once I get the final temperature, Q, the heat lost from the source is mCv dt, and the heat gained from by the sink is mCv dt, and this is heat lost, and this is heat gained. So the reversible work will be the difference between these two. Okay, so W max out is equal to QH minus QL. That gives me the maximum work that can be obtained. That's what we asked. Maximum work that can be produced by the heat engine, and final temperature of the tanks is T2, right? Okay, these are energy balances. This is second law efficiency of the turbine. Again, this also is given as a quiz problem. And the steam enters in the initial conditions and exits at the final conditions, and steam losing heat to the surrounding. Okay, this is additional one. Steam is losing heat to the surrounding air at 100 kilopascal and 20. Okay, this is okay, no problem. At a rate of 300 kilowatts. This is Q. Okay, this is the additional thing is there. And so here at T1, I know H1, S1, P2, T2, H2, S2, and T0, T0, I can find out H0, S0 at saturation temperature 25 degrees centigrade. And so I can find out the W out is from the first law, m dot into H1 minus H2 minus Q dot out. This is this. And W reversible out is m dot into psi1 minus psi2. And psi1 and psi2, H1 minus H2, and T0 into S1 minus H2. All these things already we got them. And so the W reversible out is m into H1 minus H2 minus T0 into S1 minus S2. So this is the reversible work. And first law gives the useful work. So useful work by reversible work will give me second law efficiency. And exergy destruction is reversible work minus useful work. So this is the way we can find out. I think we can stop here. We can go through the problems of the books that I have prescribed you, and also the exercise problems. And any difficulty, again, you can ask me either by the mail or the phone. Okay. And next class, we will start the mixtures. And we will see the story. A sweet, salty, touching love story. There is a love story. Maybe you like it. And so there is a hero and a heroine, and he met her on a party. She was so outstanding, many guys chasing after her, while he was so normal, nobody paid attention to him. At the end of the party, he invited her to have coffee with him. She was surprised, but due to being polite, she promised. They sat in a nice coffee shop. He was too nervous to say anything. She felt uncomfortable. She thought, please let me go home like that. Suddenly he asked the waiter, would you please give me some salt? I would like to put it in my coffee. Everybody stared at him, so strange. His face turned red. But still, he put the salt in his coffee and drank it. She asked him curiously, why you have this hobby? He replied, when I was a little boy, I was living near the sea. I liked playing in the sea. I could feel the taste of the sea, just like the taste of the salty coffee. Now, every time I have salty coffee, I always think of my childhood, think of my hometown. I miss my hometown so much. I miss my parents who are still living there. While saying that, tears filled his eyes. He was deeply touched. That's his true feeling from the bottom of his heart. A man who can tell out his homesickness, he must be a man who loves home, cares about home, has a responsibility of home. Then she also started to speak, spoke about her faraway hometown, her childhood, her family. And that was really a nice talk, also a beautiful beginning of their story. And they continued to date. She found that actually he was a man who meets all her demands. He had tolerance, was kind-hearted, warm and careful, and he was such a good person, but she almost missed him thanks to his salty coffee. And then the boy was just like every beautiful love. Then the story was like every beautiful love story. The princess married to the prince. Then they were living their happy life. But it's not over, right? Now this interesting thing is, and every time she made coffee for him, she put some salt in the coffee, as she knew that's the way he liked it. After 40 long years, he passed away. left her a letter which said, "My dearest, please forgive me. Forgive my whole life lie. This was the only lie I said to you, the salty coffee. Remember the first time we dated? I was so nervous at that time. Actually, I wanted some sugar from the waiter, but I said salt. It was hard for me to change, so I just went ahead. And I never thought that that could be the start of our communication. I tried to tell you the truth many times in my life, but I was too afraid to do that, as I have promised not to lie to you for anything. Now I am dying, I am afraid of nothing, and so I tell you the truth. I don't like the salty coffee. What a strange bad taste. But I have had the salty coffee for my whole life. Since I knew you, I never feel sorry for anything I do for you. Having you with me is my biggest happiness for my whole life. If I can live for the second time, still want to know you and have you for my whole life, even though I have to drink the salty coffee again. Her tears made the letter totally wet. Someday someone asked her, "What's the taste of salty coffee?" "It's so sweet," she replied. Love begins with a smile, grows with a kiss, and ends with a tear. Thank you. See you again. See you on day after tomorrow. Bye. Anybody wants to talk, you can stay back. Class average is very small, actually, very less. I think some 47, I think. I also don't know. Okay. I will send you the marks list. Okay, the average specificate normally we don't find, right? Whatever specificate we use, that is average specificate. So even in the gas turbine also, CP is 1.00 for 5 for air, 1.148 for the gases. So that is just average specificate we say. We never calculate. So we assume that is the average given by the literature. So actually, the CV and CP are given as functions of temperature in data book for various gases. So like AT plus BT square plus CTQ plus BT to the power 4, like that a polynomial series will be given. And if you want to find out the average, you have to integrate it. And when you integrate, we can, depending on the accuracy that you need, we can consider the number of terms that you use in the series. That's the way normally average specific heat is calculated. Is that okay? Problem 9. Let's see. No, I don't know which problem you thought. Maybe your ninth problem may be different. I don't know exactly. Okay, in our class problems, I think I have closed it. Mm. Here, actually, there are two ways of doing it. So, if you are okay, I will let you know later. Right? I will let you know later in the next class. Anything else?